Good evening and a warm welcome to the Rushcliffe Borough Council's Growth and Development Scrutiny Group meeting. I'd like to remind everyone that the meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the Council's YouTube channel. In addition, other people may film, record, post on social media or blog from this meeting. The use of any such images or sound recordings is not under the Council's control. May I remind councillors to please switch your microphones off when you're not speaking. Officer and external speakers are Leanne Ashmore, Director of Development and Economic Growth, Jeff Carpenter, Assistant Director for Public Protection, Nick Berry, Senior Property Surveyor. I'll now move to the agenda. First item, apologies for absence.
Thank you, Chair. We have apologies from Councillor Way, but there's no substitute. And we have apologies from Councillor Walker. We've got Councillor Butler substituting this evening.
Thank you. Do we have any declarations of interest? No? Right, well, we'll move to the minutes of the last meeting, which was some time ago. It was in July, and it was when we had a presentation from the Freeport. So if I just go through it page by page, page 1, page 2, page 3, 4, and 5. So are we all agreed that the minutes are correct? Okay. And I will sign them. Where do you want me to sign again? Oh, around here. Do you want me to sign both?
Just stand at the back if you want to put that tab.
I've got three.
Okay.
Okay.
Not that one. Oh.
I've done that one.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. There you are, Casey. I've got that. Thank you. Having signed off the minutes from July last year, I have to say that I'm not happy that we haven't heard anything regarding a follow-up meeting. There has been plenty of time, I feel, for that to have been arranged. I appreciate there's been a bit of a hiatus because we lost our lead officer, Catherine Evans. But she did assure me that a follow-up meeting will be put in train. And if you look at the report we received in October from the Freeport, it does make reference to that. I've sent a series of questions to Democratic Services and COG and voicing my concerns. And I've been talking with Leanne, and she is, I think she'll be providing us with further information and reassurance about the direction of travel. I have to say my concerns come from the fact that this development is so important to Rushcliffe, and I think possibly not just to Rushcliffe but to the whole country. So having said all that, I will refer to Leanne.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, looking at the minutes from last time, you've had a presentation from the Freeport at a previous meeting, and I can certainly arrange for a presentation with external people to come back to you and provide an update on where we are. I think I would just like to reassure you that a lot of work has been taking place in the meantime. So I have regular meetings with Freeport and with EMCA and with Uniper to discuss how the delivery of the site will come forward. And there's also, we host a forum with those partners, including the County Council, including a representative from MHCLG and the Department for Transport. So we hold those quarterly. So we had one about 2 weeks ago, where all those parties come together to align all the issues on that site, think about that sort of collective alignment about delivery of the power station site. As you might be aware, Junction 24 has is a block to future development with the transport cap or highways movements of vehicles. So that's a key element that Freeport are now working on. So they are driving that. They've got a team of people that are working actively with the Department for Transport and highways agencies to find a solution for Junction 24. So there's certainly an update that can be provided regarding that. The other element is the local development order that the council put in place for that site, which sets out a master plan. So there is a review of that due in the summer of this year. So when we put that in place, we put a 3-year review period in there. So that comes into play in the summer. Uniper have started a master plan process to align with that date. So they're looking at what's happened in the market in the meantime. Those developments that we sort of set out that we thought would work on that side to bring the skills, the jobs, the green growth, etc. Is that market still there? What's happened to the market? What's demand like? What does it look like now? So that whole review is taking place currently. We're also, you may have seen that we just went out the consultation just before Christmas regarding the LDO to make a couple of amendments in there, one of which was regarding data centres on the land to the south. So if you remember the Freeport site, there's the power station bit that you see, then there's the land to the south. So EMCA submitted some months ago a bid to government when they were calling for sites for AI growth zones. So a bid was put forward. The government is still considering it, so we've not heard back yet the result. I know that 3 sites have been announced, but there are more to come, and we've not yet heard which of the sites have been allocated by government, so they're still thinking about that. But in the meantime, what we didn't want to do was, so data centres are permitted as part of the whole LGO master plan, but not on the land to the south. So that's why we opened up the consultation to see whether we could broaden that scope, because what we have always said is the planning should be an enabler to this development going forward. So we didn't want to get to a position where the government chose that site, but planning didn't enable the delivery to come forward. So those conversations are ongoing. So we're, like I said, we're working with representatives from EMCA, the Combined Authority, with Freeport itself, with Uniper, MHCLG, Department for Transport, all trying to get some of these matters aligned and the blockages removed. The other issue that's a constraint on site at the moment is getting a grid connection, which does sound odd given, but that was power out, and now we're looking to get power in, and it has caused, it has been difficult to secure a grid connection sufficient to service future development. So Uniper have submitted several applications. The process is complicated and at times slow, but they are in the queue, and those lines of communication are open with National Grid. And that was the other element that we needed to get aligned. So if the AI growth zone bid was successful, it needs to have a grid connection and it needs to have planning. So we're trying to get all those things aligned in so that we're removing as many blockages as possible as we go. So that's just sort of a summary to say that a lot is going on in the background. We're having lots of discussions trying to get these issues resolved. So happy to ask Uniper and Freeport to come back to scrutiny. I would just ask to be clear about so that it's not just an update. What are your lines of scrutiny? So what is it specifically that you're looking to scrutinise rather than just have an update? So, and we don't have to do that here now, and we can talk about that afterwards to make sure that it's an effective meeting that you're actually scrutinising the topic. Okay.
Yes, that's lovely. Thank you very much. That's very helpful. I think sorry, Charlie, is indicating.
I just wondered, these meetings that you're having, are they minuted? Are we able to access any of their information? I know some of it will be commercially sensitive, probably.
The forum meetings that we have are minuted, but there's a lot of commercially sensitive information there. So the circulation list is just within the partners. But yeah, if you have any questions, you can always come and ask me any questions. I can answer anything that you think of.
Just want to clarify what you're saying there about junction 24, and you mentioned a transport cap or some reference to it. Is that just in terms of the capacity of the junction? So it's about, and
That's right.
I was wondering, you mentioned MCA. Now, I imagine the junctions in Leicestershire, isn't it?
It is.
So are they involved as well in terms of, is it just Leicestershire County involved, or is there a
Yeah,
other
so
body representing other?
National Highways, because it's National Highways. Yes, it is in Leicestershire, which creates a more complicated dynamic to the whole thing. But all the parties are working together now. So Freeport are leading on this. So yes, it is about capacity and vehicle movements. So for development there's a certain percentage of growth of capacity that's permitted for development. Before then, there's a cap before any further development. So some development can happen within the current cap, but it's planning out how that is resolved going forward in the long term. And there's also a private sector consortium that are involved. So we've got Department for Transport, National Highways, the local highways network, East Midlands Freeport, and the combined authority, and us. So we're all sort of collectively trying to find that solution.
Question on that, would it involve MCA's budget at all? Would MCA be expected to put money into it?
I think the cost of it is an element that is on the table and actively being discussed. So no final solution has been found. I think the challenge comes with MCA allocating funding outside of their boundary, because it is in Leicestershire. But there are other ways of collecting money. So Section 106s, so we're looking at potentially an SPD for Section 106 from the development that comes forward to help fund it, and other methods such as the consortium as well. So I think it'll be a cocktail of funding.
As I say, I shall look forward to another presentation if you could get something arranged for us, and not too far away. I think we need to keep this ball rolling, because I'm very concerned with everything else that's going on. If we're not careful, we take our eyes off the ball. So yes, I would appreciate hearing when that will be. So now we move on to the asset management strategy. I'd remind members that we've picked this item up from corporate governance. It wasn't actually on our agenda originally, as they were overworked. And in scrutinising asset management strategy, we need to be looking to ensure this provides a suitable framework for effective economic management, and that I think is outlined at 1.1 and 1.3 of the report. So it isn't about the minutiae, it's about the process. So I want to bear that in mind when questioning. I have received some questions from Councillor Way, the Vice Chairman, who is not with us. One of which, if you will have read the report, is around the assets at Castle Donington and Colville, as to why they are there. Well, the answer to that is they were a sound investment, and that is a matter of public record. So that is the answer to that. The rest of her questions related to the Eastleek parish, and as such, I believe Jeff is going to a meeting at Eastleek. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Tomorrow morning.
Yes, where those questions I think can be dealt with, because once again, this is about the process. It's about the individuality of Eastleek. So having said that, I will defer to Jeff. Are you presenting?
I'm
No.
presenting. Sorry, Chief.
You're
I'm
presenting.
presenting. Okay, so I am going to assume that you have read the asset management plan. So I'm just
Would
going
you like more water if you're doing all this stuff?
I've got more water, thank you. So I'm just going to highlight a couple of things so that we've got time for any questions. So firstly, this is a replacement of an existing strategy. So we had the 2020 to 2025 strategy and plan in place, and this is a refresh, updating it in line with the new corporate strategy as well. So in the preparation of the asset management strategy, which Nick Berry has led on, he's had conversations across the rest of the authority to make sure that service delivery is at the heart of the building, land and building estate. So the strategy, as Councillor Cumberland has just set out, sets the framework. What's the strategy going forward? Making sure that it aligns with our corporate objectives, ensuring the property is managed efficiently, and also driving those wider economic benefits. So you'll see in the plan that we've got town centre master plan, town and village centre master plans, and that's looking at that, not just what we own, but also what influence we can have on that wider economic area. The asset management plan is the 5-year approach for managing the council's land and building assets. So that gets into more detail about how specifically we manage our assets. And then the action plan at the end of the document sets out how the strategy and the plan translate into actual actions. Because it's great having a strategy, but what you really want to see is what are you going to deliver from it. So that sets out, that's that there at the back. The other thing is that on page 80, we've kind of put a strategy on a page. So it's quite small writing, so it's probably easier to read on a screen than in paper. And I haven't got a copy of it here because I wasn't going to go into too much detail, but that just shows how it's all aligned. So how that asset management plan is aligned with all of our other strategies. I've mentioned the corporate strategy, but things like the leisure strategy, the carbon management plan, the individual service plans that are delivered. The idea is to bring it all together so that it's aligned across the whole. So this slide here on the screen just highlights some of the achievements from the asset management plan between 2020 and 2025. So just pulled a few out to demonstrate the quite significant achievements in the last 5 years when you sort of have a look at that list of projects that we have completed to make sure our estate is still fit for purpose, to make sure that it's as carbon friendly as possible, so reducing our carbon impact, that we've disposed of land that is surplus through our asset review process, and that we've acquired assets where needed. So acquisition, for example, is the offsetting land at Upper Broughton. So this feeds into our carbon management plan. We know that we're only going to be able to go so far in decarbonising our assets, and that we'll then therefore need an element of land which is used to offset. So that land has been acquired. It's going to be planted up for woodland, for which we've received a grant to deliver that woodland, and then so that land was acquired within 2025. We've since acquired a separate piece of land, which now means that we have sufficient land now to offset our carbon emissions. So that's a real success. Looking at construction, Rushcliffe Oaks crematorium has been delivered in this time, and that's now exceeding return on business plan. So it's been open 2.5-ish years, coming up to 3 in April time, and exceeding business plan in its returns, which is again a huge achievement. Bingham Arena, Bingham Enterprise Centre, which is with small business units, that was fully let within about 3 months of it being open, and has remained fully let with supporting small businesses. We completed the phase 2 of the Cotgrove Shopping Centre regeneration scheme as well, which I think, you know, has been transformative for that area. So I won't go into too much other detail. It was really just to highlight the significant programme of works that have been carried out in the last 5 years, and how the strategy and asset management plan manages to bring all that together and has a clear plan of action.
Thank you.
Oh, I have a couple more.
Oh,
Sorry.
I thought you'd gone quiet.
No, sorry, I was just waiting for the next for the next slide. Yeah, this is just sort of setting out the content of the asset management plan, the chapters that are included, sort of demonstrating that broad spectrum of information that's captured in there, and also at the bottom there, just highlighting the portfolio that the council has. You know, a mix, as you would expect, of community asset investment properties that therefore support service delivery, support local businesses, support wider economic benefits, and also generate an income for the council, which is for then enabling us to deliver those statutory services. And the last slide is key changes between the 2020 document and the new version. So we've reflected a section there on local government reorganisation, because within the next couple of years, Rushcliffe will be part of a wider, larger unitary authority. So there's a huge piece of work there to align priorities, asset bases, and think about the governance and transition going forward. So that's a change to the plan. The asset investment group terms of reference have changed. So you may remember that the initial asset investment strategy was to acquire investment assets to generate a return on investment, so purely revenue focused. We're no longer, so we've completed that piece of work. So now the terms of reference for that group are around looking at new opportunities that occur. So, for example, the land I mentioned about buying the land for Antipolis Woodland, that goes through the asset investment group first, before then going on to cabinet with a recommendation. Carbon management, we've updated that section regarding the carbon neutral commitment for 2030, and reconfirming our commitment to ensure the estate is fit for purpose, aligned with living services, and driving local economy through wider stakeholder collaboration. I've finished. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah. That was very comprehensive and very positive. Does anybody have anything they want to ask? Councillor Calvert.
We've got a few questions, if I may raise them. I can do one and then let somebody else in and then be back again. Yeah. You decide.
Let's play it by ear. We'll see how many people are waving their hands.
Yeah. Yeah, got loads. Don't worry. No, I find it quite difficult to relate the report to all the information that was in the plans. There's a management strategy, asset management strategy, and then there's a plan, and then thirdly there's the action plan. The recommendations just talk about the strategy and the plan, so I assume we're not commenting formally on the action plan. Is that just there for information? Or
the action plan is a live document, so it changes depending upon new priorities and etc. So it's commented. So cabinet will be approving the strategy and the plan as documents. The action plan sits alongside it, but is likely to change. So that's why it's not part of the package, because it's not fixed. So the strategy and the plan will stay the same. So they're fixed, and because the action plan is a live document, it's going to change over time. So that's why that's sort of sitting outside.
okay. So I just want to know what will be.
But you're more than welcome to comment on it in this forum.
Okay. Right. Well, you mentioned there LGR, and there was a reference to that in the report itself. I think it's paragraph 1.6, and it just says that here we are, local government organisation, which will fundamentally transform the structure. So we know that it's going to have a massive impact on our assets. So I was looking to see if there was anything in the actual report into the document, the strategy and the plan about it. And I came across this one little sheet of paper, which doesn't say a lot, but then I wouldn't expect it, I suppose, to say a lot anyway, because it's all a question mark. We need to wait and see what's going to happen in July. But you do say in this page that starting now, we're going to do this, this and this. And I was wondering what that is. You know, what is it you're starting now? Is it thinking about what you're going to do, or is there something between now and July that you're actually doing? Because I couldn't find that.
Yeah, and that's a good point, and perhaps something we need to put in the action plan. So this period now between this submission, we're just the government are about to do their consultation in February, and decision in the summer. We've received a checklist from MHCLG, which sort of sets out what councils ought to be doing now. And it's things that you would expect, like getting your house in order, understanding what your asset base is, you know, we know what ours is, getting contracts aligned, all those sorts of things, so that we can share that information across the councils.
Right.
So the piece of work that we'll be doing now is looking at our estate, sharing that information with the other councils, trying to collaborate on, you know, what systems do we use, what sort of assets have we got, and just thinking about how that might look. But we can't do anything in terms of modelling a new structure until we've got the decision.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's sort of getting your house in order. 6 months basically. And we've had a couple of sort of generic meetings about how we're going to collaborate and share that information. We've not yet started the sort of the specifics. So the specific assets group hasn't met, the specific finance group haven't met, etc. So that's ready to come.
Work your way.
Yeah.
Okay. I've got a few more, but I'll let others.
So if I could just add to that, we are in fact planning ahead for something at the moment that we aren't certain about. So if that didn't happen, that section would just be removed from strategy, the action plan.
If LGR didn't happen.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is just making sure we've got our ducks in a row if it happens. Great. I like to hear that. Councillor Ellis.
Thank you, Chair. We've got this target of 2030. Have we got some kind of document or computer system to actually measure progress? Are we 40% on the way now, 50%, 20%?
So I don't have the details to hand, and so that is led by Dave Banks, but yes, we do. So we do, but so the print, yes, so it's measured and monitored, and we have regular updates. I think it came to Scrutiny as well. Is it coming soon? I don't...
My other thought is that we've got this target of 2030. I'm not sure that is particularly sensible, but that is the policy anyway. But we're not going to be around as a council to see the outcome. There will be an election in 2029, or I suspect before actually, but that's speculation. If the Conservatives were to get into government, then the Climate Change Act would be repealed. Net zero is already being rubbished by the party as economically damaging, which I would totally agree with. So should we have a look at this policy again?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. So I think my answer to that is going to be that Jeff has just said that the carbon management strategy is coming back to scrutiny, so presumably to communities scrutiny. So that might be a question then to put towards the chair of that scrutiny group to raise that point there, so it can be picked up and dealt with, and then because as you know, it's a commitment that was made by full council. So it would have to go back through full council to, yeah, so the best place would be through that scrutiny item when it comes to communities.
Watch out for that.
It should be on the forward plan on the, we can let you know, we can let you know when it's, if Tracy make a note of that. Yeah.
Councillor Chapman.
I'm a bit worried that my questions are a bit about the minutiae, so if you don't want to answer them now, I don't mind you batting them away. There's just a couple of things I picked up and I was interested in. So firstly, I noticed there are £4.8 million that are earmarked within the capital programme to support opportunities for investment in affordable housing. I just wondered if you had any plans for using that as yet.
We have the money in a budget to use for commuted sums. There's a risk in terms of how we use it, in terms of the availability or the willingness of registered providers to allow some of this funding to be used for affordable homes. So so yes, we have a plan, but it comes with a degree of unknowns in terms of whether RPs will or are able to support it.
Because it wasn't in the action plan, it was just sitting there. It seemed a bit like there was something missing, that it was there, but I was just wondering what
We can pick that up and see whether there's a live action that we can include in the action plan to reflect that.
So the next one, shall I carry on?
Yes.
Do you want to come back to it?
Yeah,
So you've acquired the co-op on Trent Boulevard, but sold the one on Hilton Crescent, and that I just wondered if there was a reason, but that is minutiae.
So the co-op was an actual store that was purchased as part of the asset investment strategy. So there was a business case that lived with that. So there was a return on investment case. So it was investing capital to generate a revenue income to support delivery of services. Hilton Crescent was our ownership was the land only, so not the store. So the rent that we were receiving on that was £250 a year. So it wasn't generating, it generated a better return on disposal than the revenue position.
Yes, so in your asset investment strategy, you mentioned that the investment portfolio is actively managed to ensure return on investment, whereas previously it does refer to realising maximum benefits of not only commercial returns, but where assets can deliver measurable benefits to communities and business, which is obviously something I would support. So I just wondered whether that needed to be in the action plan as well, that it was there as a goal, but it's not actually in the plan, that it's important to have non-commercial returns. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I think you're drawing the distinction between the purely investment portfolio and the portfolio that has wider benefits as well as yeah. So we can have a look at that to see whether there are any specific actions arising. Probably they might be wrapped up in other actions. So when talking about master planning, for example, that sort of might take into account those wider benefits. So there might be other examples of where that's included without it being specific to that point, but we can have a look and see whether there's any specifics that we can include in the action plan.
Councillor Calvert.
here we go. Yeah, this is the action plan. So I want to know whether I could ask these questions. West Bridgeford Vision Plan. That's news to me, but I'm very pleased. I know that there was some reference in the economic growth strategy to doing something, but it wasn't particularly detailed. So there's something here about citrus design and whatever. Can you just tell me a little bit more about what what's going on there?
So we've employed Citrus Design to undertake the master planning and vision work. So Citrus Design is a company which is made up of Leonard Design, who are architects, who are well-known architects in Nottinghamshire and nationally, and Box Property, who are agents and understand value. So between them, they can do the pictures, the vision, but also make sure it's real and pragmatic. So they've been instructed. They're currently going through stakeholder engagement sessions, which is the commercial shopkeepers and other commercial people within and around the area, but also we've got council, we've got a stakeholder meeting going on for councillors within the area, which is happening next week. And then we've got a stakeholders meeting for community, for communities. So people like Friends of Bridgewood Park and the library, maybe Tranbridge, or people who have an interest in West Bridgewood. So they are currently putting together their vision. They're looking at lots of options. So some which require funding, other ones where it's trying to inspire the commercial sector to actually do the work themselves. So they're facilitators, but they're looking to publish their report back to us by the end of March. And once we get that, we'll take further decisions on that.
Is it mainly then a kind of environmental improvement, or what aspects are they doing? Is there any issues about transport, for example?
So in the past, we've had ITP do a transport survey, looking at pedestrianisation and look at alternatives, but their remit is pretty wide. So they're open-minded. They're talking to stakeholders. What are they looking for? So we get an independent view back, and then it's lots of options. So it could be transport linked, depending on funding. It could be them suggesting designs to private businesses within West Bridgewood to try and generate some kind of regeneration in certain areas. So it's all pro growth. It could well be transport, but it's quite funding related. So yeah.
Thank you. And just one other one.
Could I
sure.
just add something on that? So as you mentioned in the economic growth strategy, one of the actions was to look at our core centres, core retail centres, to make sure they're fit for the future. So in the past we've completed works at Cockgrave, at Bingham. So this is West Bridgeford, with a view to sort of working through all our main centres. West Bridgeford particularly, it's thriving, but at the same time we're expecting 4,000 new homes in Gamston Tollerton. How do we make sure that it's future ready? We've had 1,000+ homes at Sharp Hill. That's the main centre. So how do we make sure that it stays thriving, but it captures those? We're not losing that custom to elsewhere, so they're not going out of the area. So how do we make sure that it's fit for the future? So these master plans are also, we wanted to make sure that if future funding streams become available, we've got a plan. So at the moment we haven't got a pot of money to deliver a scheme, but we ought to try and have a master plan so that if funding streams do arise, we can pull something off the shelf, because we know from in the past that we normally get a very short window if funding streams are available, and unless you've already got something worked up, you can't meet the timescales. Yeah. So it was about getting sort of future ready.
Because we started, I can remember this, the growth board in 2011 or whatever, and then that just disappeared out of nowhere. So I don't know where this one's going, but that's good that there's something happening just at the moment. There's just one other one, and that was on the action plan as well. And it's about creating the woodland at Upper Broughton. I was just wondering whether that was a response to the Environment Agency's study about the dearth of woodland, etc., in the area that Councillor Grove raised.
Yes, I think it's twofold. It's primarily for offsetting. As I mentioned before, regarding the carbon, to get to that net zero,
Yeah.
we can't get net zero with our estate by itself. We're still going to be emitting. So this was to offset the remaining carbon that we couldn't eliminate completely. But yes, definitely in the minds of cabinet or that study, that we're not as green and well wooded as we should be.
Yeah.
So that was definitely part of it. And the second part of the land that we've acquired recently, together, that exceeds the offsetting land that we require. So is it 123%? So there's clearly there's a 23% over supply.
Thank you.
If I can just say, I mean, Upper Broughton is in my ward, and I'm very excited by this project. I've been and seen it. There are other benefits to this project. Once the trees are planted, there's going to be wildflowers and there's going to be an orchard and sorts of other things. And the way they're planting the trees is so that the views are not impeded from Upper Broughton, because you look down, so the smaller trees will be nearer Upper Broughton, the larger trees and further away. But at the bottom is the Dalby Brook. Now, I have huge issues with the Dalby Brook in various other parishes because it floods. Well, they're going to put in wetland and ponds, which will slow the course of the Dalby Brook, so should have a greater impact on flooding, we hope. So there are multiple benefits in this scheme, and I'm really excited by it. Councillor Butler.
Yes, thank you. More of an observation than anything, really. I'm particularly looking at Appendix B, the list of the assets, and honestly, really, we should be proud of this. It's remarkable what a relatively small authority has got in terms of its long-term, but also more recent investment and work. There's a phenomenal amount here, and I'm just, pardon me, and I know that this is primarily for us or for this committee, but are we sort of blowing our own trumpets a little bit to show off to other outside organisations as to just what we've achieved, what we're doing here? Because it does need more notice, because I think most people out there see the borough council and they've got no idea what we're doing, which is great for the council, but ultimately it's fantastic for the residents as well, because of all the financial side and also these various office units, shop units in particular, are providing employment opportunities. So we need to bang our drum a bit on this. That said, I think we just need, and I'm being pedantic, okay, and it proves I've read the report, but there are a few little, I guess it's editing or typo errors. I'm looking at page 69 of the main report. It's page 45 of the asset B of the Annex B. We've got a few little errors on the addresses. For example, we're talking about Suite A, Cockgrave Business Hub, and then it's shown up against Welbeck Road, West Bridgford. I'm sure that's just a little editing. So if we ever do go to a wider audience with this, just be careful with the proofreading and everything. Can you see where I'm looking at? Yeah. So I've literally just spotted it. I just popped out of it. So yeah. So really, as I say, no real questions on this as such, but just we need to recognise the what we've achieved between us.
Thank you, Councillor Butler. I thoroughly agree with what you've just said about telling the public these are the assets that we have.
Yeah. It's not just for the council's benefit, it is for the borough's benefit.
Exactly. And it goes to the point, in fact, that Councillor Chaplin made, that our investment actually feeds wider benefits, as I pointed out about possibly flooding, etc. And that is also, yes, I appreciate it's carbon offsetting, but in future years it'll be even greater carbon offsetting because of the amount of leaves on the trees, etc. And also has an aesthetic quality and leisure. So yes, we should be highlighting these matters. So yes, all power to Elbow. Oh, sorry, Councillor Brown.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And following on what Councillor Butler said, there are a few more typos there in there as well. And I've also got a question. Weissel is spelt incorrectly. I think it's page 72. And you refer to a golf course as a gold course in a couple of places as well. I wish it was.
Well, there you are. It's another benefit.
Yeah, I go and play there. My question is, and I'm aware that Councillor Way has got some questions at Eastleigh, but in my ward and also my county division, Eastleigh is part of that. And it's on page 16 of the assets. What's it? It's regarding Eastleigh and Radcliffe on-Trent health centres. It says provide support to Radcliffe on-Trent Medical Centre in respect to the proposed new extension. Funding approved for an extension. And then for Eastleigh, ongoing support has been provided as a part of the ICB-led Eastleigh Health Centre project. My question is this financial support to either or?
I was just going to say, this is really where I've sat, that it's really a question for, are you going to be attending this meeting?
I've not been invited, no.
Oh, right. Oh, well, maybe we better answer it then if you're not going to be attending that meeting.
It is officer time support, not financial support. So officer time support. So it's I think we have to be really clear whose responsibility it is to provide health centres, and that is the NHS ICB. We can offer our support in convening, facilitating, supporting, bringing parties together, and we've done that over a number of years. The Eastleigh Health Centre project has been led by the ICB. I think the business case is challenging, but it is firmly with them to lead. But we have, for example, in the past thought about areas of land that we own that could help facilitate. So we have thrown different things into the mixing pot, but it is an ICB project. But we are there to support and guide and have been. I think more recently the meetings have ceased. So we used to attend meetings quite regularly, and I think those haven't taken place so recently. So that project does seem stalled for now.
That in point of fact is really where the heart of Councillor Way's questions were, the fact that the pandemic intervened and yes, matters were stalled. So hopefully then this is going to be restarted.
Yeah, I think so. Just on that point where our intervention has been effective without putting in financial support is in Radcliffe-on-Trent, for example, where they've got a similar issue with a health centre that's ageing, doesn't meet the requirements. So I have met with the practice many times and with health, and Nick has more recently moved that along a long way, and now they've got ICB funding to build an extension, and so that has been a lot of office support. Nick has put a lot of time in meeting with those GPs, along with councillors, Councillor Upton and Councillor Brennan, in terms of and Councillor Clark, in terms of that sort of comprehensive collaboration between all the parties. So whilst we can't finance a health centre project, we can help facilitate and bring those sort of discussions together. So I think that is the power that we have, that convening power and facilitating, so it can be successful, but we need all parties to sort of work together.
Once again, it sounds a bit like Freeport and Uniper, etc. All the
So
stakeholders coming together. Yeah. Exactly. Right, Councillor Ellis.
Thank you, Chair. Just coming back to Councillor Brown's words about typos. A question I've asked at other scrutiny committees is, do we not use spell check? And I never received a satisfactory answer to that.
I think, yes, we do use spell check. I think the length of the document has just meant that there's a couple of errors in there, so we'll get those addressed.
I have to say, spell check doesn't always pick up the spelling, because it might have to be spelt correctly for a different sounding word. Right and right, for example.
You always have the option to add that word to dictionary.
Oh, yes, yeah. Oh,
And it
quite,
won't
yeah.
make that mistake.
I understand that. Yes. Right. Well, oh, sorry.
There was, I'm sorry, there was one observation I wanted to make. In your introduction, or in the introduction, you referred to one of our assets, the crematorium.
Yes.
And again, we are talking quite a lot about it, but again, what a success story that was, because I remember when the applications first came in for that, there was a lot of noise against it, and I'll stick my hand up as well. I was sceptical, I was, but now and I know that in the early days of it, not this committee, but other committees scrutinised it because it got off to a bit of perhaps a slow start, but now it's absolutely. I mean, I know it's a crematorium, but it's attracting a lot of people from not just Rushcliffe, but around the county, but indeed from out of Rushcliffe and out of Nottinghamshire. We're getting people from Leicestershire, Lincolnshire, again, but also furthermore, most of the vehement people who were against the idea in the first place have now completely come round and said yes, it's absolutely fine. So it goes to show that we often spend hours and days, weeks agonizing over decisions and all the rest of it, and dealing with all the various arguments for or against, and sometimes we get a lot of criticism, but that is a good example as to with a lot of thought that went into it and the execute that's an unfortunate word, execution of it, but you know what I mean. The fact that it's a shining example of a successful project. So I just wanted to big it up, really.
Councillor Ellis.
This is really nothing to do with this scrutiny committee chair, but just to pick up on Councillor Brown's statement that spell check wouldn't pick up Wisel. It would, and it would pick it up as something which is wrong. And it would then give you the opportunity, as I said before, to add it to dictionary, and then in future there will be no problem with the word. It's a tremendous facility. So, sorry, Chair, I digress.
It's all right. Yes, I do understand, because in my newsletter I use words like that. But you know, Neville, for example, is not spelled correct. Well, not in the general way. And so it's always picked up as an error, and I have to go back and say, no, it isn't. So I think we've scrutinised that, and the recommendation was that we support the asset management strategy and recommend approval to Cabinet. Is everybody in agreement? Thank you very much. That's lovely. Well, I think we have got the work programme to look at, and I'm not sure.
The work programme.
Yeah. Yep. We just have shared ownership and other affordable housing, including park homes, to come to us on the 25th of March. I'm sure that will be of great interest. Yes, Councillor.
Yeah, I saw that. I do know that the MP's office do a lot of work with park homes, and James himself's been involved with negotiations. Are they going to be invited to contribute? Do you know? Can we ask that somebody from, is it appropriate from somebody
When you
from
say they be invited,
somebody from James's office who does work with park homes?
I think we'd have to put that through
All right.
democratic services.
Yeah, okay. Well, I just thought I'd bring it up rather than at the meeting.
Yeah.
I think it just depends on what. So I've not seen the scrutiny request for that, so I don't know the terms of this of the scrutiny item. But if you wanted to, if somebody external was going to come and speak, then they would have to be sort of presenting a position or something that related back to the scrutiny item. So very specific reasons. So we could take that away and have a look at the scrutiny item and
I added the
Thank
park
you.
homes to the item.
Okay.
So because I
Yeah.
have park homes in my ward.
Right. I mean, obviously we can get some input from them in
Yeah.
order to give us
Yeah.
questions to ask, which would be fine. I just
Yeah.
thought I'd raise it now.
It's broader than just,
Sorry?
it's broader than just the park homes that.
Oh, yes,
so
yes,
it's
shared ownership and the affordable.
across the
Oh,
borough.
yeah.
So it's,
yeah.
it's not just the park homes over at
Yes,
Gamston.
yeah. Exactly. That's what I said. I added it.
Yeah.
It was,
All
that
right.
had come forward as ownership and of affordable homes and shared ownership. But I was aware that there are issues in park homes as well. And I thought this was probably the place to put it. So, are we in a, sorry, Councillor
If we're going back on the agenda now, I'll speak to Jeff afterwards.
Oh.
It's regarding the meeting at Goose Lea.
Oh, right.
I'm just thinking.
Okay, fine. Right, okay.
Because the health centre is for several other villages in the area.
Okay.
I just think other people from other villages should be involved in it.
Well, yes,
So I'll
okay.
speak to Jeff.
That would be, yes, speak to Jeff about that
Thinking out
after the meeting. So I think we've reached the end of our meeting. And thank you all very much for your contributions. And safe journey home.